Hey, friends. So I'm in the studio today and I've been thinking a lot about the concept of fear for a lot of different reasons. Um, Primarily, it makes me curious what is at the root of fears that would cause a creative to shy away from sharing their version of beautifully different and interesting. Um, what causes that chokehold to be on the creative spirit that over the years remains? It's a curiosity that I have. But energy is also a curiosity that I have, and I think about the energy of fear all the time. So I wanted to share with you today one of my journal processes of going into my journal of interesting and percolating around a concept, an abstract idea or thought, and then asking myself, what does that look like visually? And just giving myself room to creatively process that. It's a heavy, heavy topic, and it's going to require, on my part, a lot of sessions of understanding. But it's exactly what I call good medicine, and I wanted to share a little bit of that with you today. So I'm going to flip my camera around. I'm going to say I will. So what you see here, so this is the journal. This is one of my journals of interesting. This is the cover. It's rather full. And this is the one on energy. So all of the concepts around energy for my Land of Ardithian project, I process in these pages. And it's full of sketches and writings and graphs and all kinds of things just so that I have the creative container and space to explore what my version of beautifully indifferent is when it comes to energy. So, fear is a big topic for me. The energy of fear is what I'm thinking about and considering. So, how would I even begin to journal this? There's a million different ways, but one of the ways that I do it, especially in all of my journal of interesting, is I've got to do a brain dump right out of the gate. I've got to unload what I'm carrying with me in words so that I can then go break it down and identify which words point me in a direction to alter my visual language. So as I'm going through this, it is literally just a brainstorm dump of words that pop into my head and heart as they are connected with this right here. Is this a finished list? No. I could probably keep going, especially as I do, it opens up other pathways for me to think about fear in the world, you know, physical fears, fear of my safety, imaginary fears. But even going into the Land of Ardithian, fear would be something that the characters experience. But also, too, artists experience fear all the time. Imposter syndrome, they don't want to be seen. So there's a whole lot to this. But I also, too, want to set timers for myself because this can get overwhelming and I can go down a rabbit hole and I could just spend way too much time brooding over words. So I set a timer for 5 minutes. This is what I've got so far. And now what I'm going to be doing is I go back and I look for, on a list this size, I look for maybe one or two words that stick out as important more so than others. I can tell you right here, sadness is one that I've got to circle because it's what I feel a lot lately. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look at more of words that, might could be interpreted physically as opposed to conceptually to begin with. Circular, never ending, repetitive. This repetitive is showing up a lot for me. It repeats, it repeats, it repeats. So I'm going to do that right there. So repetitive and sadness. I don't necessarily want to paint sad energy. I want to paint the energy of fear with a sad overtone, a sad feel to it. And I know that that sounds like I'm kind of splitting hairs, but there is a difference. Sadness to me would be very different than the energy of fear that had a sad undertone. And it's just a personal take on both. So once I identify one or two really strong words that tug at me, I then want to go utilize some supplies or products that I have at the ready to consider what does that look like visually? What does it feel like? And now I come to a page like this. So this page right here is very indicative of energy, but also there's a layer of sadness to it. In the charcoal, in the shadows, in the repetitive brokenness, in this outrageous red, this whoosh, in different directions, that it does not feel hopeful to me, but it does feel like energy. So I could spend some time thinking about this. Is this what my version of repetitive sadness connected to the energy of fear would look like? And if so, when I'm going to create a painting, especially an abstract one, non-representational for the most part, having this in my skill set or wheelhouse would be very useful. And knowing that if I start making marks like this, it's a personal connection to belief or understanding, it gives me a much stronger sense of visual language to curate so that what I'm creating is more authentically me. And that is the goal. Now, I do this all the time. I explore these concepts, and it could be that this entire page is something that I would go and transfer into a much larger abstraction. It's all about shifting inertia for me. But also, too, I might just take this one small section and then go repetitively spend time writing about this, drawing this, replicating this, playing around with different colors of this, just to get a feel for what it means to me. That is one way to use a journal as a physical space to process abstract ideas, especially if you are wanting to go in a direction of choosing to express an inward thought in an outward way through paint and pigment. I don't know about you, but I have to process here first to really understand and grasp what I'm attempting to construct so that the viewer gets a feel for my point of view. It's a fun way to work, but it does take a willingness and an effort to be brave and bold within the pages and sometimes spend time with really hard concepts and really hard ideas. So I'm percolating on this concept of fear and energy and what the energy of fear looks like and it feels like, the impact that it has, not just on artists, but on myself. It's taking a toll on my creativity these days, and I'm having to fight my way through kind of reining that in. And this is one useful way, at least that I've found, to process all of that, especially when I don't have words. So I'm going to be spending some time in my journal today, just considering all of that and finding my way through painting abstractly. I'm going to be teaching a 2-day workshop up in Joplin, Missouri on March 1st and 2nd. And it's called Shifting Inertia. And it's all about the acrylic mixed media painters that want to paint abstractly, giving them some concrete strategies and tips so that instead of it just being random and looking like a lot of what they see or everybody else's, I help painters find very distinct ways to connect point of view and symbolism to the physical way that they move the line. I am really excited to have that opportunity because I think it's important, especially in these days when, you know, they're hard emotionally, and sometimes we just don't have words to process all of them. Creativity is good medicine. It is a salve for the soul. Um, so being able to offer a workshop that gives painters a little bit more insight, especially if certain painters are wanting to really define their versions of beautifully different and interesting, I'm all here for it. So thanks for pulling up a chair today. If you decide that you want to explore this idea and process, tag me or send me a link. I'd love to see what your version of beautifully indifferent or interesting is when it relates to the energy of fear.